This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah. So, okay, guys. Yesterday we were discussing about the predefined roles, the account admin role, and we are transferring some grants to other role, right? So let me show you that. Right. So yesterday we discussed about the privileges on the warehouse, right? Day before yesterday. So we have given usage privilege on the warehouse to a role called OLAP RW, so that that OLAP RW role can use the virtual warehouse and execute the query. Operate is to suspend or resume the warehouse. Okay, modify is to modify the size of the warehouse. So this we have discussed for warehouse, and then we have discussed database level privileges also. So this test database is created by account admin, but if the OLAP RW role want to see this or use this database, first I have provided usage access, then modify, then monitor, and if the OLAP RW role wants to create a schema inside this particular database, then I have given the create schema access. I have created a schema there. Okay, so let me log into that particular OLAP RW user. So what is the user we have created for OLAP RW? Demo user, right?
Can you once explain what the the monitor privilege will do?
Oh, for the database?
Yes.
Okay, so monitor is for just to describe the database. Okay, so I'll show you. When you describe the database, it will show like what are all the schemas present in your database and when they are created. So this kind of information. So if you want to see that kind of information, yeah, you need to have the monitor privilege. Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So let me open another session for the OLAP RW role with a different user. Give me a second. So we have created this user with account admin role, right? And then we have assigned a custom role called OLAP underscore RW. So that is my custom role. Okay, the name I have given as OLAP underscore RW. Maybe you can give it as a developer role or something like that. Right, this is the worksheet we are using, right? So now because of that monitor privilege, you are able to describe the database here. Okay, so you have OLAP RW role here, right? So, and I have given the create schema privilege so that he can create the schema now. Okay, so create schema test.demo, so that this guy will become the owner of the schema now. That OLAP RW will become the owner of the schema now. Okay. Right. So let's go back to the next level privileges called schema level privileges. Okay, so we have created a schema. We have created a schema with account admin role. Now I want to give the privilege on the schema. Okay, so in order to give the privilege on a particular table, first you need to give a database level privilege, and then you should go to the schema level privilege. Okay, so now we have discussed about database level privileges already. Now we are discussing about the schema level privileges here. Okay, so let's go back here. And what are the schema level privileges here? It is similar to your database level. Okay, so the first privilege is your usage only. Okay, so when I provide this particular privilege, so this guy can set that schema in his drop down here, or he can use in the use schema command. Okay, so now he is not seeing that particular schema, landing schema here. Okay, so now go back here. Right, so I have given a usage privilege. So go back and refresh this. You could see the particular schema in under test database here. right? So this schema is owner is account admin. He is able to see now. But if I expand this, inside this, he did not get any tables access under. Okay, so just the schema access. We can also set that here. Okay, so test database and now landing schema. Okay, this is the default database and schema. Okay, so if I'm not mentioning any database and schema here while creating a table or something like that, it will take from this particular drop down here. Okay, this is a session specific, right? So this is the usage, like just you can see the schema here. Same way, if you want to describe the schema, there is another command called describing the schema. Okay, so the describe schema test.landing or landing. Now you don't have this privilege. Okay, you don't have this privilege. Now, in order to get this schema privilege, you need to have monitor privilege on the schema, similar to your database. So most of the schema level privileges are similar to your database. Okay, so I need to give a monitor privilege on the schema. Okay, so that you can describe the schema and see generally what are the tables available or what are the views available. All the objects it will display here, but here because you did not give any low level object access, it is showing 0 results. But if you do this here, let's say if I do the describe schema here, test dot landing. Okay, it is showing there is a table created this time and all. Okay, I did not give the table access, so it is not showing in the OLAP RW row, but the command is getting successful now, right? And what is the third privilege here is modify. Same thing, like if you want to modify the comment or some other property. Okay, so you can modify the properties of a particular schema using this modify privilege. Okay, so properties include, it can be a comment, or there are some properties like what is the time travel period for that particular schema. So there is a feature called time travel. Okay, so you can go back to some time and query your data. So that time you can define for a database or schema. So that property, if you want to change it, you can also change it using the alter command. Okay, for that you need to have the modify schema here. Okay, so just I will show the comment. Okay, I'll try to edit the comment. So the way we have altered for database, I'm trying to doing it for schema. Okay, alter schema test.landing. So test is database, my schema is landing. Set comment. So I'll say this schema is created for landing or for raw data from source. Maybe. Okay, so just I want to modify this command. Okay, so if I want to do this, I need to have a particular privilege, that is your modify privilege here, right? So now you can modify this, right? Then modify the privilege. So modify the comment now. You can see the comment here. Okay, so you can see the comment here, right? So that is the modify privilege. And yes, so let's say I want to create a table. So now tell me, the owner of the landing schema is account admin. Can I create a table with OLAP RW here? Create table test dot landing dot, let's say EMP. Okay, EMP ID, teacher, EMP name. So can I create a schema? Okay, sorry, can I create a table in this particular schema? So I cannot, because you don't have the privileges. I did not give that privilege actually. Okay, so to get that privilege, generally the way I have given create schema access, you need to grant create table access. Okay, grant create table on schema tested at landing to OLAP RW. Right. So now I can create a table in this particular schema. Okay. So let us run this. Right. So now you can see the table here. Employee. This is owned by OLAP RW here. Okay. So these are the schema level privileges. Okay. Any questions here till now?
Can you go back to the command? Yeah. So if you just give grant create schema access to the role, then they would have the access to create the schema itself, right? So you are
Yes.
saying grant create table access, so that you are
this I have given
restricting
on
him
the
to...
database. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So now the difference here is, I'll show you one more difference. Now you have two schemas in landing. I mean, landing is coming by account admin. This is the owner of account admin, and this demo is created by OLAP RW itself, right? So we have created demo, create schema demo. Now, in order to create a table inside this demo, do we need any extra privilege? The owner of demo is OLAP RW. So do we need any extra? You don't think so, right? Yeah, that's correct. Because the owner of the schema itself is your OLAP RW. So when you're owner of some particular object, you don't need to get any permissions. You have every permissions on it. Okay. So now create table test.demo, maybe EMP history I want to create here. So because you are owner, you don't need any permission for this. But this landing schema owned by account admin, then you need to have a special permission for that. So that is the difference here. Okay. Right. So now we discussed about warehouse privileges, database level privileges, and schema level privileges. Right. Now let us go back. The most important thing that we do very regularly on table level privileges or any low level object privileges. Okay. So now I have created a table. Okay. Do we have any data here? I don't think we have that. Okay. Let me insert a couple of rows here in this table. Insert into T1. Okay. So when I'm saying T1, which database and which schema it will pick? How it will pick the database and schema here? I'm not giving test.landing.
Yeah, it's selected up there, right?
Right. So this is the default database and schema that it will pick if I don't mention it here. Okay. So that's what I wanted to show you. Right. I'm inserting some memory data here. So 3 rows I have inserted here. Right. Now go to this OLAP RW role here and see whether you are able to see the data table. Sorry, not. Is it landing? Yeah. So you are not able to see that T1, right? T1 is our table actually. Now I want to get access to this T1, which is created by account admin, right? So now what I'll do here, simply I'll say grant, okay, select. So the privilege is select. I want to only give the read access on my table. So I'll say grant select on table T1 to role OLAP RW, right? So now you can go ahead and select the data. You can see the table here, and also you can select the data from that particular table here, right? Go to landing, tables, T1. Okay. So now you're seeing the table. You are able to query the table. Okay. So when I click this place name in editor, it will give the table name directly. Okay. So you're able to see the data. But what if you're trying to insert the data? Okay. So we have the insert statement. Yeah. So let us try to insert this data from OLAP RW role. So let's see whether we have that privilege or not. Right. So it says insufficient privileges to operate on table T1. I have only given the read access to the table. I did not give write access to the table, right? So in order to give write access, we need to give a special privilege, another privilege called insert. Okay, insert. So when I give insert privilege, you will have that particular statement will be executed from OLAP-RW. Okay, so now you can go back to OLAP-RW and run this command here. Right, so now you are able to insert and you are able to select. And same way, if you want to delete the data or if you want to update the data, you need to have two more privileges like delete and update. Right, delete is one privilege, delete is one privilege, and update is another privilege. Okay, so I hope you know the DML operations like insert, update, delete. So all these things now he can perform. But now you think that I want to give all this in a single statement. Okay, I don't want to give read, I mean a particular privilege with one grant. So I want to give all the privileges. So now what I can do is instead of giving the single privilege, I can give all the privileges in a single command here. Okay, so grant all on table T1 to role OLAP-RW. So this gives you select, insert, update, and delete in a single statement. So these four statements are equal to this single statement here. Okay, clear guys? Are any questions here? Okay.
If you want to give for all the tables within the schema,
Exactly.
not
so
for a
that's what
particular table, how?
Right. So that is called bulk privileges. So that's what I'm going to show you. So now I am going to create a couple of more tables and I am going to show you that how I can do it. Okay. So I'm going to create maybe DEPT table, or let us follow this convention T1, T2, T3. T2. Okay. Second table is created and T3. Third table is created. So now if I refresh, totally you have 3 tables that are created by account admin, and you have only access to T1 for OLAP-RW, right? So now you have 3 tables, T1, T2, T3 here, right? So if you go here, you see you have only T1 access. So this bulk grant is important. In real time, you may have multiple hundreds of tables in a schema and you want to give the same privilege to all the tables. So now how to give this bulk grant? So you can say grant. Okay, so let's say you want to give all the permissions, you can say all, or if you want to give only select, you can give select. Okay, so grant all on all tables in schema test dot landing to role OLAP underscore RW. So this is called bulk grant. So now it gives all the T1, T2, T3. Okay, so now go here. Right, so now it is giving all the object level privilege, so it is considering EMP also, but EMP is created by OLAP-RW. Okay, so now you can see all the things here. Okay. Test landing, yeah, T1, T2, T3. So this is called bulk grant here. Okay, this is called bulk grant here. Now let us try to create a new table, one more table. Okay, T4, right? Now tell me whether this T4 will be shown in OLAP-RW. So just now I have created T4 here. Will this be shown in OLAP-RW?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you come from other database background, you think that it comes, but here Snowflake difference in a different way. Okay. So this is a table created after running this grant command. So this object will not be considered. Okay. So table T4 will not be considered here. Okay. So this is the object I have created after giving the grant permission, right? So now you will not see that table here. Only T1, T2, T3 you are seeing it here, right? Now go back in order to give all the future objects or all the existing and future objects, you need to add one more grant. Okay, see here the difference between this grant and the other grant. Grant all on all future tables. So you need to add a keyword called future. This is the specific to Snowflake. Okay, so now this grant will be applicable for the objects or tables that are existing at that point of time. So while executing this command, which tables were existing? T1, T2, T3, right? T1, T2, T3. So it has given access to these three, but T4 is created after this. So T4 is not granted immediately. Okay, so you need to say grant all on all future tables in schema test.landing to role OLAP particle. Now, after granting this, right, on future, what is the syntax here? In grant all on, I think all is not there. Yes. So now, afterwards, after giving this command, if I create some tables, like let us create T5 and T6. T5 and T6, right? Now you can see those two tables in the OLAP RW role here. Okay, so that is the difference between other databases and Snowflake here. So they have separated the future grants and the current grants here. Okay, so now we are seeing T5 and T6. So you did not get T4 still because it falls between two grants, right? So that's the reason you are not getting T4 here. Okay, clear guys? Are any questions here? Someone pinged, I think someone pinged, right? What about drop table and truncate table? Is required any special? Yes. So yeah, truncate you can do it with if you have a delete permission. There is no problem. But dropping table will be only done by the owner. Okay, if you are owner of the table, you can do that. Okay, so that is what ownership privilege. So there is a special privilege on every object called ownership. Okay, so that ownership, let's say I want to drop a particular schema or a table, I should be the owner of that. So let's say I want to drop table T1 now. It's a good question. So let me say drop table T1. I'm not the owner, but who can do this? Who is the owner of this? Account admin, right? Account admin. So account admin can do this. So in order to drop a table or delete the object completely from the database, so you need to have an ownership privilege here. Okay, but you can do truncate table. So truncate is like deleting the data. You can do truncate table. Yes, this is done. But drop table, you should be the owner of that particular object. Okay. Right. So now what we have done here, so I just draw a diagram quickly, just to summarize the things. Okay, so we have a user, a root with account admin role. And we have another user called demo user with a custom role. And we have created this user and the custom role with account admin role only. Okay, so what is that custom role? OLAP underscore RW. Now after that, what I have done, I have created a database, or let's say a warehouse. Okay, let us take database because this symbol is database. And I have created a schema called landing. And I have created some table called T1. And I have created a warehouse here. Okay, so I have created a warehouse called development warehouse or test warehouse. Okay, so now for all these objects, who is the owner? Account admin, right? So I'm indicating with a solid line here because account admin is the owner. Okay, is there any metadata to see? Is there any metadata to see what all privileges a user has? Yes, you can do that. Generally, show grants of, let's say generally it's a role, grants of role OLAP let's say I want to see what are the permissions I have given. Okay, so he is granted to this particular demo user. Okay, so the low level privileges, it is not showing it this. Let me say show grants of user demo underscore user. Okay, show grants of user is not there, I think. Okay, so OLAP portability is showing this role is assigned to whom, but it is not showing the privileges assigned to him, right? So there will be some table in the information schema for that. Enable roles, pipes, procedures, usage privileges. So I told you, information schema is a metadata schema. Okay, here where you will have all the things stored. Let's say I'm creating 100 tables. Everything will be stored in these tables. Okay, so there is a you got tables here. Okay, so if I'm creating procedures, it will be stored here. So this is called your metadatabase. So now in order to see the privileges, so maybe you can use this particular, the usage privileges on sequences. Okay, let me see. Sorry, definition. There should be some table, definitely. Okay, here we don't have any user. I think this is not the table. Table storage, table privileges. So this is one table where you can see it, table privileges. User level things you need, right? Yeah. So let's say you have table T1, right? So what is the privilege you have for OLAP RW role? So it's a truncate. Okay. Ownership, delete, update, select, right? So table level you are able to see here. Okay. For each table, what is the privilege and which role is having that privilege? Okay. You can see this. You can consider this table privileges table. Okay. And if you want to have a specific user level privileges, there should be some other table for that. Okay. User is linked to role. Yeah, I think this is the way. See, your user is linked to role, right? So OLAP RW is linked to your particular, demo user is linked to your particular OLAP RW. Now from here, let's say you want to see all the table level privileges for that particular OLAP RW role. You can say, you can write a where condition, where, right? Where your grantee equal to OLAP RW. So OLAP RW is the role which is assigned to your particular user called demo user. Now you'll see all the privileges given to that particular user. See here. So whatever the things we have given, so you're seeing at table level here. Okay. Clear? Okay. Any other questions, guys? Yeah. So what I'm trying to do is, so just I'm summarizing the things. I have created a database, I have created a schema, and I have created a table, and I have created a virtual warehouse here. Right? So for all these objects, the owner is account admin. Ownership is with account admin. Now what I have done after that, I have transferred some privileges on this particular warehouse to this particular role here. Okay. So now I gave some privileges on a virtual warehouse like usage, modify, monitor. These are the privileges I have given. And then I gave some privileges on my database. and I gave some privileges. Yeah. So I gave some privileges on my schema. So I'm showing the data line because OLAP RW is not the owner of these objects. Just I'm giving some privileges. Still the ownership is with account admin here. Okay. I have granted some permissions to this particular role. So now tomorrow, let us assume this guy is a developer, so or a tester maybe. So tomorrow one more guy joins in my team. Just I will create a user. Let's say demo user 2, and I want to give the same privileges to this guy. So instead of giving these all privileges, simply I'll attach this role to him, right? I'll attach this particular OLAP.w role to this user so that he'll get all the access here. So that is the flexibility with roles you have here. Okay, so now all the privileges that demo user have will get demo user 2 also. Okay, so the same privileges demo user 2 will also get it, right? Okay, so this is what about managing the privileges and roles, guys. Any questions? Any last minute questions here? Clear. Okay, so now let's move to a new topic. Okay, so this is about your users and roles. Okay, now let us move to a new topic called data ingestion process in Snowflake. Okay, so what is this data ingestion process? Okay, so now you have set up your account, you have set up your roles, you have set up your database, you have created the tables, all the structures are ready. Okay, so now how the data ingestion will take place, right? So the first step is create the account, second step is set up the account, I mean create the objects, and then get the data. So how you get the data, where you store it, and what are the techniques involved in data ingestion or data loading. So that's what we are going to discuss. Okay, just I'm opening a new diagram here. So what we are going to discuss here is, now in your particular project you may have multiple sources as your sources. Okay, so my target is Snowflake. Okay, my target is Snowflake. My target is Snowflake. My source might be a Postgres database, right? Or it might be a Oracle database, any other database. So simply some OLTP database. Okay, so I am intentionally making it small because OLTP databases handle small volumes of data. Okay, now my source may be an API. So what is an API generally? So let's say you want to get some weather information, or you want to get some forecasting, I mean like COVID information. They'll provide some APIs. So through programming or through some tools, you need to hit this API and bring the data. Okay, so this is an API. So just if two systems wants to communicate, two different systems, maybe a database and another web application, we may use an API here in between. Okay, so it can be a database, it can be an API, or it can be simply a server which is having files, like we call it as SFTP server in Unix. SFTP server. So what is this server? It stores some files. Okay, so only for exclusively storing files they'll maintain some servers. Okay, so like this you might have multiple sources here. Okay, maybe
one thing, Vinod, I just wanted to check with you. Are we talking about only structured data, or does Snowflake also handle unstructured data?
Snowflake also handles semi-structured as well as unstructured. Okay, so unstructured they have added it very recently. I think the feature is still in preview. I need to check that. But semi-structured they are handling like JSON, XML, and Parquet, ORC. All these formats they are handling. They are able to accommodate.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yeah, you're right. So maybe the question arises from here because API always gives the response in JSON or XML format generally, right? So how to load that data into Snowflake, how to parse that data. So we are going to discuss that in one of our sessions for JSON, XML, how to parse the data. Right? So now you have these different sources. You need to bring the data to here, right? So when are you bringing the data from here to here? In between, we will use a stage area, temporary storage or some storage. Okay, so here generally we use cloud storage. So we don't directly bring the data, we don't directly stream the data from different sources to Snowflake directly. First we'll bring the data to your cloud storage. So I told you we have 3 different vendors in the cloud market, right? AWS, Google, and your Microsoft Azure. Okay, so from different source systems, first we will bring the data. First we will bring the data generally into a service called, if I'm talking about AWS cloud, there is a service called S3. Okay, so this S3 is capable of storing the data from multiple sources. Okay, whether it is a structured data, unstructured data, semi-structured data, first you'll store it here. Okay, so then after that you will ingest it into Snowflake. So why we are doing this again, why we are storing it here? Okay, two purposes I can see. One thing is like you slowly accumulate the data here and parallelly load the data here. Let's say you are getting some 10 records at a time, 10 records at a time. So collect all the records here and put it like once you get 1000 records, bulkly load the data into Snowflake here using a command called copy into. We are going to discuss that. So to bulk load the data parallelly, accumulate the data here and put it here. And the other purpose is maybe this can be serving as a data lake actually. So we call this as a data lake. So what is data lake here? So data lake is like your regular lake where you get the data, where you get the water from different sources, maybe rainwater, some other water and all. So it is in raw format, right? So whatever you store in this S3 is called raw data. Okay, we call it as raw data. Maybe it is having semi-structured, structured, or unstructured data. Now, this is a place where multiple people may interact with. Now, the lake water can be used for agriculture purpose, or it can be used for bottling, drinking water, right? There are multiple uses of that water. Now, this raw data can be used for data warehousing in Snowflake, or this data may be accessed by a data scientist directly here. So a data scientist may directly go and hit this raw data. Okay, so this works as a data lake here. So this is what your data lake, right? And now you are using that for a data science application. You are using that for your data warehouse application. Okay, so that's the reason generally first you will extract the data and put the data in S3, and then from there you will ingest the data into Snowflake here. Okay, so clear guys why S3 is coming into picture in between? Are any questions here? Okay. Okay. So now what is this Amazon S3, right? So actually how to
So we know
create that
yeah,
please.
yeah, we know so in generally in our like on-premises, right? So like normal database, so staging area we can call it as a like transactional purpose, right? So we don't store history data over here. So but
Yes.
coming to S3, so can we store history data as well?
Yes, you can store it. You can store it depending on your application. Let's say I have my requirement. My data scientist anytime can come and hit the data, historical data. Actually, the purpose of data lake is you don't know the purpose of the data, but you may use it in the future. Just you'll put it here. That's it. All the structure, semi-structure, unstructured, you'll dump it here. It is like a dump yard, you can say. Okay, but maybe in the future that data might be useful. Right. That's the reason I'm extracting the data. Okay, so in that case, you can keep the yesterday data also. But let's say for a particular source, maybe from the Postgres source, you don't want to keep that data in the S3 as a backup. You can define a bucket lifecycle policy here to delete the data maybe after 7 days or after 5 days. Something you can define in the bucket lifecycle policy.
Yeah, some retention policy we can define, right?
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Okay. Yeah. In what scenarios we use Redshift, and in what case we use Snowflake? Yeah. See, this is like we are buying cars, and whether I should go for a Tata car, whether I should go for a Mahindra car, or something like that. Okay. So both serves same purpose actually. Okay. So Snowflake is a data warehouse, and your Redshift is a data warehouse. Your BigQuery is also a data warehouse. Okay. But there are multiple warehouses in the market. Even from Azure, you have Synapse. But what suits your business requirement? Okay. Actually, I told you that Snowflake has these features, some special features like the storage and compute are separated. You have the data sharing feature, data cloning feature. Your T-shirt says virtual warehouse. So this is attracting me to use this particular warehouse. But you feel Redshift is like, and Redshift has some features maybe So if you feel that is good to you, that fits your requirement, you can go for Redshift. Okay. So that is done. I mean, that analysis should be done. What kind of data? Let us assume Snowflake is handling unstructured data. Let's say Redshift is not handling unstructured data, and you are getting unstructured data from APIs. So you have an API as a source. So Snowflake is more suitable for me. Okay. So depending on the features offered by that particular data warehouse, assess your requirement also, then go for the data warehouse selection. Okay. Okay. Now, so you have different sources. You'll store the data here. From here to here, to ingest the data, we have multiple methods. Okay. So we have two methods actually. We use a command called copy into, and we use another process called snowpipe. Okay. So we can use copy into and we can use snowpipe. Two different ways of loading the data from S3 to Snowflake here. Okay. So what is the advantage of this? What is the advantage of this? When to go for this and when to go for this? That we'll discuss in next session days. So before that, we are going to see how to create an AWS free trial account. Okay. And then how to create an S3 bucket and how to upload the files here. What are the properties of this bucket and how to establish the communication, this link. Okay. Now, if Snowflake want to access S3, what he should do? Okay. Generally, the administrators will establish this. The AWS admin and Snowflake admin sit together and they will establish this link. Okay. So that also I will show you. Like what are the methods available there? What are the best practices available there? Right. So all these things we are going to discuss in tomorrow's session. So tomorrow I'll start with AWS Cloud creation account. It's a free tier account for 1 year. Okay. And then we'll create an S3 bucket. We will upload some data and we'll try to create this link. Okay. Okay, guys. Any questions you have? Okay. Yeah. Let's meet tomorrow and discuss about the AWS account creation. Yeah. Thank you. So generally the sessions will be 1 hour, but just initial days I'm keeping it for 45 minutes to 50 minutes. Okay. So that you can be habituated and you can digest the things. Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.